Welcome back to On the Rise, everyone. And we decided to hop on for a March roster breakdown, considering it's our penultimate roster, right? Till the World Cup. I guess it's basically our final roster until that June 1, right? Because it's gonna be meshed up, right? And all the same thing.
Oh
As
yeah.
yeah, right. We can presume it's going to be the same thing that we get for Ireland and that final match. But
Mhm.
we thought we'd jump on, break down this roster, look at what we expected, some of the surprises, and let's jump straight into it, right, everyone? We got Africans here, everyone. And how you doing today?
You know, this week has broken me emotionally. And so I'm ready just to talk about, rosters, why people didn't take jobs, the fun things, Ryan Lumi going from Tunisia to Canada back to Tunisia. Let the boy do what he needs to do. He's young still. Let him. They're friendlies. They're not cap tying. Let him figure it out, and all the fun things. But honestly, yeah, I'm excited to see this because I was very curious to see what it would look like, especially with all the injuries around the roster. And now that we have this, we kind of have, interestingly enough, we kind of have now a final 31 that we're working off of to make a 26. At least I'm saying that. Maybe, barring injuries, as I'm knocking on all the wood, the desk is wood, so I'm knocking. No more injuries, please, soccer gods. No more. I beg. I beg of you, please. But I think, yeah, the roster pretty much, we have a bit of a window that we can look at the roster through. And I think that's what makes it really exciting and interesting. So, yeah, roster dropped 28, but I'm excited to talk about it with you, my man.
Yeah, of course. Like we knew it'd be large. It was always gonna be expanded, like Marsh said, but I don't know if many people thought it'd be a full 28. Like it's a lot more than I would have expected, especially seeing the forward line. I didn't think there'd be six number nines. I think that's quite heavy. I think Marsh just wants to see everything he has there with his final opportunity, right? So it's going to be
Yeah.
interesting to see who actually gets play time up top. Let's list out the people called up, the players called up to the squad, and then we'll break it down by positions, of course. Goalkeepers being Max Crepeau, Owen Goodman, and Dane St. Clair. Defenders of Derek Cornelius, Luke DeFugerol, Richie Larea, Jaquil Marshall-Ruddy, Kamal Miller, Ralph Priso, Nico Segura, Joel Waterman, and our two training players of Moise Bombito and Alistair Johnston. The midfield of Ali Ahmed, Tejon Buchanan, Matthew Chouanier, Marcelo Flores, Junior Hoylett, Ismail Kone, Leah Miller, Jonathan Osorio, and Nathan Saliba. And up front of Jonathan David, Daniel Jebison, Kyle Laren, Tanya Lawase, Arabine Peppel, and Jason Russell Rowe. Rounding off the 28 names, the two training players, is there any surprises, shocks that really stood out to you on this roster?
I don't know if it's surprises or shocks. There's definitely names that I'm curious about. I know, for instance, the goalkeeping competition conversation has always been interesting just because you have a James Pantemis who's sitting on the outside, right? But then he hasn't been able to crack it in at this point, barring injury. This is like the second Owen Goodman came in. I'm like, yeah, this is pretty much it. I feel like there's no, you know, Jaden Hibbert, for the sake of trolling and just also like at some point either Crepeau or Dane are gonna drop off a bit. You want to have that next goalie coming through, and there's a lot of goalies that could hit their mark, but you're not quite sure yet. But goalkeeper, I mean, Pantemis is a thing. I think the interesting thing for me was the fullbacks. What would happen, right? You have a player like Richie, who's technically on the roster. Richie's the only left back, right? Jaquil can play on the left if needed. So can Luke DeFugerol, and I think that might be something he may lean into. Zoran Basong was Zoran was in this roster, right?
No, Zoran's injured. One of our many, many,
Zoran's
many injuries.
so many injuries. So like I'm curious to see what they do out wide, or maybe dare I say they go back three. I mean, what a world that would be. A different, not a 4-2-2-2. What a world that would be.
Flashback to
But
Herdman.
let they were good memories there. Okay, let's not
It
pretend that there
was,
weren't good memories there. Okay, just we don't have that Steven Vittoria standing back there just as that. But like the fullback is interesting to see what they do there up top. Curious to see how they want to break down the striker minutes. because again, I still maintain you can run Joe David as much as you want, but who's gonna spell him for those 10, maybe 15, maybe 5 minutes at the end of every game? Who's your best option for that? And then out wide, I mean, this is a I mean, I know you got Marcelo in the thumbnail, but I think it's as big for him as it is for a lot of other players because Liam Miller is one of them as well. But who becomes that first outside attacking midfielder off the bench? I think that's a fascinating conversation to take a look at. And I think a good window might just propel and insert him into that spot where he is now that first winger off the bench, even though you have a Liam Miller who's performing well at the championship. I think there's questions all across the board at every level, but those are the ones that stand out for me. What about you?
Yeah, I think of course you highlighted the glaring ones. I think it's going to be interesting, really, around how it gets broken down between the number nines. Because when you bring six, you'd like to see probably four, maybe five get a good chunk of minutes. Because realistically, as competitive these games are, we should be beating these teams not like 3-4-5-0, but it should be a convincing, impressive victory against both of these nations. Tunisia should be a very tough game as well, but we should be able to handle these teams if we want to be able to prove that we're ready for the World Cup. I think each of these strikers, if they want to be in that World Cup squad, they deserve some sort of minutes to prove to Marsh that they should be in that squad. And if they don't get that opportunity, I don't know how Marsh is going to call them up in June. It would be kind of
Mhm.
surprising if you get 0 minutes and no opportunities in March and get the nod in June. So it's going to be very weird and interesting to see how he breaks it down because, of course, Jonathan's going to get the start in
Yeah.
the first game, but does he start both games? Or more than likely, I expect him to because Marsh is going to go with his best lineup. He's going to go with his best team. But how deep does Jonathan David go into a game? I think that's going to be a real question around this window because then you have Tanny, you have Kyle, you have Daniel, Peppel, who might get a chance. I think he really deserves it on his form. And then you got Jason Russell Rowe. And I think if you're looking at those options, Jason Russell Rowe is probably your best player to come on for Jonathan David in those
Mm.
last, I don't know, 20 minutes of the game, 15 minutes of the game. But Jonathan David is also that type of player you could leave on for the entire 90 and could absolutely change a game on the spin of a dime. Like that's how good he is. We've seen it with other strikers in world football. When you're an elite striker, you just take that chance. And David is someone in our squad who can just definitely do that. And like you said with the thumbnail, I thought Marcelo Flores was fitting to be on there. It's his debut camp, and he has, among other players in this team, a huge statement to make because it's all that dual national conversation is finally put to the side. We can't focus on Mexico and Canada anymore. It's how can he perform for our nation? And he's not a starter, and he probably won't be till post World Cup or maybe for a long time because Marcelo Flores is far away from Ali Ahmed right now, I'd say. And the only
Yeah.
position he has in the squad is probably as a 10. And that is something that we won't see probably in this Jesse Mars style of play. And I thought it was very interesting when Matthew Shinetti tweeted talking about the number nines and who partners Jonathan David. He added Flores into that list. So I don't know if there's something he sees there as well, or he's heard from Jesse Marsh. But like you've even talked about before, that Marcelo could go up top and replace Jonathan David late in the game. He could go
Mhm.
alongside him. I think there's that opportunity for Marcelo Flores in the squad, but we are going from struggling almost out wide on the wing and injuries to really having so many options. We don't know who to start or who's going to get that super sub minutes. Like it's been a true turnaround out wide. But let's go through this roster
Mhm.
positionally. I think now probably the most boring position to break down for us is the goalkeepers. I guess there's still a huge question there, right? But it's almost nailed on who's going to be called up at this point. Like you could almost make a straight out bet on your house and say it's going to be Goodman, it's going to be Dane, it's going to be Max because Pantemis has been given zero love by Jesse
Z-
Marsh, right?
Yeah. And I think that's if you're gonna complain about anything during this process, it's we never really experimented outside of those top two, which is fine. It's a competition. and only have training to use. But I think that to me is the most interesting conversation point, because even last year especially, like last year, I feel with some of the call ups, you miss the opportunities to really strike on players who are really in good form. Like last year, Pantemis was out keeping Crepeau at Portland, but Pantemis wasn't being given any opportunities. And the explanation was always, well, you couldn't take both goalkeepers. I'm like, that's fine. Take the one who's in, take the better one then, and let the other one work. I don't see how this is hard. And with all respect to Crepeau, but Crepeau was always seen as battling for that position. So Dane struggled, and then you had Crepeau there. See, that's a hard one to say at the same time, because like my mind wanted to say Max, I want to say Crepeau. I was like, nope, save ourselves. Maxime Crepeau, okay? We're battling en français ici. Sorry about that, but I
Your
think that
French
to
better
me
than
is
mine.
the yes, but like that to me is the most curious why they didn't really explore. But I think Dane is still the pole runner, but if there's any opportunity to do anything, I think Max has to do it this window, right? I think if Max has to look the part here for any chance for this to change. But I think at this point, not only are you three, I think Dane ends up being the goalkeeper eventually, because it seems like he always gets the first crack at it. So I don't know if you feel differently about those two, but for me, I feel like I think Dane gets it at the end of the day just because he's always gotten the first crack.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Dust to almost get it. I think he's deserved of his play. Like they both started slow in Florida at both their respective clubs, right? It was gonna be major moves.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, Dane's in the spotlight being with Messi and all that big names and highlighted coming off the win and everything with Miami. But he's actually had some good performances. Like he hasn't been that bad. Like he had that huge game against DC, the major game against Nashville. He's kept them in games. He's had big moments, but it's always going to be that glaring spotlight for Dane because of where he's at. And most, I'd say, of the Canamanti fan base wants it to be Max. It kind of feels like in a way. And I
Mhm.
think it's almost Dane's spot to lose right now. I feel like with his form, how good he was last year, but it almost also feels like with the national team, Crepeau has the trust of the back line. He has the experience, and we haven't really seen Dane have that big moment in goal. Max has had huge
Mhm.
saves against Wales. He's turned up against some South American opponents, and Dane has never really had that one moment where he's had that huge save that's kind of kept Canada in a match. Where you've seen it with Boyan, you've seen it with
Mhm.
Maxime Crepeau. It's going to be very interesting. I almost believe he has to choose one goalkeeper now. I know it's a huge choice in March when you're still what 3 4 months or whatever it is from the World Cup, 80 some days, and you almost don't have to make that choice. But I think where we're at with this team now, you almost have to choose to give that back line the confidence to build that chemistry, to start learning the habits as they already do through training and everything. But I have to think you have to make that decision. Do you think he has to go out and choose that number one now and decide who his number one goalkeeper is this window?
I don't think he has to, but I think internally the decision has to be made, right? And I think because I think you want to keep it open and you want to make sure that those players again are now that can work one of two ways, right? I think on one aspect you can look at a goalie playing knowing that they have the spot, they relax, but then also you can look at a goalkeeper knowing that they're fighting for position. Maybe that gets them to lock in a little bit better, right? As someone who was a goalkeeper, to me, I'm like, yeah, if I know what I'm fighting for, I lock in into that spot. But if I know I don't have a chance, maybe I slack off a bit. Maybe I lock in a little bit better. I think for this team, I don't know if it particularly matters. It depends on how they want to play. And I think when we get to the strikers, I think it's situational based off of how they want to play and what they're trying to do. But I think goalkeeper, it is very much 1A, 1B. I know why people, again, with this team, we're going to have a lot of conversations between what they've done versus what they're doing. Right. And I think for Crepo, like you said, like another player who's similar to that, but's not here due to injury, Jacob Schaffelberg, is a player that people will look and say, look at what he did at Copa America. But if you look at his year last year, right, objectively, you could say Jaden Nelson had a better year. But Jaden Nelson isn't even making the squad right now, right? So I think it's situational based off of what's coming. But I think They could make the announcement. I don't think they do until probably that May June window, and then just say this is their starter. We're going to move forward. We've talked with them, but I think internally they're what they are saying without saying it right now is Dane is the goalkeeper. They're giving him every opportunity to lose the battle or to secure it, and so far he hasn't been the worst, but nothing has really for me transpired to go one way or the other.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, it's tough to choose, right? Because you feel like you have the experience from Crepo, you have that almost Marsh style of play where Crepo wants to fly off the line. He wants
Mm-hmm.
to play from the front and be ready to clear those balls. While Dane St. Clair is more your traditional shot stopper and in charge of his line, be able to create and win balls in the air off of crosses. And I think it's a huge asset to have with his height and his ability aerially for Dane, especially when Canada struggled on set pieces at times as
Mm-hmm.
well. So I still don't know who I'm leaning. I'm leaning more Dane at this moment in time, but it is a very tough decision for Jesse Marsh. Extreme is not happy to not see no Pantemis on there, and I don't blame him. Like it's very difficult for James Pantemis right now with how good he has played, keeping Crepeau out of this roster, out
Mm-hmm.
of that Portland roster for so long, and not getting that opportunity with this Canadian team in a competitive matchup. And I do agree that Canada has played better with Crypto Extreme. Like we have looked like a more solid defensive unit. They've looked like they trust him a little bit more. I'm sure they trust Dane as well, but you can almost see a difference when Crepo's behind them in goal as well. He does
Mm-hmm.
have that craziness coming off, trying to win things, which we saw with Orlando getting that red card, but the right idea is there from Crepo to go out flying, win those balls higher up the pitch, and be off his line for that Jesse Marsh style of play. And he's had to do that at times when there's no Bombito, when there's no Luke de Fougerolles, and we don't have that pace at the back line as much. So it'll be very interesting to see what Jesse Marsh does. I'd be surprised if it does end up going with one goalkeeper for both games.
Mm-hmm.
I think he
Yeah.
should. I'd like to see it to go Crepo both games or Dane. I don't
I think
expect it.
I think they're still going to split it just because
Yeah, I think they
it,
have to.
you're right. I think Crepo they're going to give Crepo another chance just to say, hey, this is the last time to put some tape here, and then go from there because they've treated it as such. So I don't think there's a reason to not treat it unless we get the random Owen Goodman game, which I mean I would be over the moon for that, but at whose expense? Because if they go Goodman and Sinclair, it's clearly saying Crepo, you are definitely you're definitely goalkeeper number two. I think they did announce that, but yeah,
I
we'll
think
we'll
you're
look
right.
that
Yeah,
up here as we go from there. But yeah, I think goalkeepers from there. When you go to fullbacks, right?
yeah.
Fullbacks, you just have Alistair Johnson, who's a training player, so really not there. You have Richie Larea, Nico Sigur definitely is going to be your right back for this. JMR, Jaquil Marshall Reddy, is there as a right back. I think that's all the. I think that's all the fullbacks, unless you put Luke DeFugiel out there. But how are you seeing the fullbacks with there's no Davies, which I think that's more of a I think that's more of a show of faith from the federation here to them being like, hey, yeah, you guys can deal with this. We're not going to deal with any of the issues again. He's recovering. He knows what his role is here. He's coming back, which to me, I think Extreme says, I'm surprised he didn't bring Debrienne, right? I'm surprised they didn't bring Mateo Debrian because they needed another left back, especially with no Zoran. So it's probably going to be again. It screams it's going to be those three fullbacks, if that, and then maybe you get some Luke de Fougerel out there as a fullback, or maybe they go to a back three and push a little bit further up. Who knows? I'm curious to see what they go. But for fullbacks for you, how do you see? Who do you like who was called up, and how are you seeing the battle for that position kind of breaking down?
I'm surprisingly content with the fullbacks actually. And quickly before I get into that, I'm just gonna say shout out to Matthew. Hope all is good to you as well, man. It's going great here. Craziness with the AFCON, Jesse Marsh, USMT situation, everything going on with Canada T's roster. Everything's great here. Hope all is good for you as well and everyone in the comments. But with the fullbacks, I'm not shocked at all. I know there's only
Mhm,
3 on the roster, 4 if you want to count Luke DeFugeral, but Larea played 180 minutes last camp, played both games, didn't come off, which is surprising as well to run a fullback who plays as wild as Richie Larea does and how
mhm,
card crazy and tackle crazy and quick he plays his football. Like he doesn't stop running, and the fact that he was able to play 180 minutes last camp is well, not camp routine, of course. The one previously to that is it's impressive. Like you don't expect a player of that position to go 180 minutes in a camp like that in an international camp, and I think it's truly surprising. As Extreme says, my captain as well. Like he is our captain, and it's true. If Jonathan David doesn't wear that armband, it's going to be Richie Larea. And that's how good he's played across 2025. Like he has been Canada's best player across the year. And it almost doesn't shock me that 3 fullbacks were called up because Richie's your locked on starter, probably going to go 180 minutes again. Jesse's probably going to rely on him. Nico Segur, probably going to go 180 minutes again, I'd expect, unless you bring in JMR and he gets to come on for 20 minutes in each game for Nico Segur or come in and play 45 in one game. But
mhm,
outside of that, you have Alistair Johnson there as a training player who will step in come the World Cup. And then you have Alfonso Davies who's going to come back. So you have your 5 or your full 4 fullbacks right there. And Jesse Marsh probably just thought, give JMR a chance. The other 2 are locks. And if JMR can impress in camp once again, which I'm sure he probably did in Camp Poutine, then he's probably now jumps over the likes of Zorhan Basong, who's injured and isn't always starting for his club side, and
mhm.
then no D Brienne. And this kind of shows me that JMR must be ahead of Mateo Di Brienne in the pecking order. That
Ironically, I was talking with some folks on Twitter about this. And then we saw, I'm like, well, I guess we know the rankings now. I guess we know, but like, I think for Jaquil, I think that's more than warranted because he once he moved to Charlotte last year, he was consistently in the 11, and I think going to New York Red Bull, or Red Bull New York, however you want to say it, from a Red Bull system with a Red Bull coach as a Red Bull right back, oh, you're good. You're I think that suits him well, and if he continues, that Red Bull team's going to be fun because it's going to be a lot of young cats going up and down the pitch. And I think with him jumping into those frays, him sitting back, being the last line, I think that'll only help him for that aspect. So I think that works for him, and maybe he gets more of a cameo because Richie can kind of go left or right, or maybe it forces them to say, okay, you're gonna have to try you on the left, Richie, no cards, okay, no cards. Don't force the back 3, Richie. Don't force the back 3. But I think it'll be very interesting to see kind of is. But yeah, for him, I think it's a warranted last look because I feel like his play over the last half of last year into this year, I think he warranted more than just the call up he got in Europe where he didn't touch the pitch. I thought he deserved to at least get onto the pitch for Canada at one time. I think this might be his camp to do it because I don't think they're gonna play that many. But then again, the teams that they're playing maybe more willing to sit back defensively, and it'll be how to break a low block times 2. So maybe they're not too concerned with it in this camp, but I think Jaquil definitely well deserved for him. In terms of how long Zoran is out for, I don't have that at the top of my tongue. Do you have that?
Yeah, I just searched it up here on FootMob. It looks like it's a hamstring injury and a date around February 27th is when it happened.
Okay.
The return looks like it's doubtful. So I'm guessing it's not anything major because we would have probably heard about it by now. But
Mm,
I'm guessing it's going to be week by week. I'm assuming for Zorhan.
yeah, probably if it's that long a hamstring, well, I don't know what the grade tear is, but then that's when you start going into like like we know too much hamstring information thanks to Davies because I'm like, what are normal reoccurring ACL injuries post like the ACL injury? I'm like, huh, okay, so there's hamstring tears, there's groin tears, okay, grade 1 to 2. I became with Alfonso Davies, I love the player to death. I've become experts on myocarditis and now hamstring strain. So love my life, love it. But yeah, I think based off of what that sounds like he's probably going to be ready right after the camp. Now he could have come as a training player, but keep him in this club for now. he typically is the fullback called up when there is no Davies. So I wonder again, even if you do get Davies, you get Alistair Johnston back, then you have Richie, you have Segur as your backup right back, and then your fifth one, maybe it does come down between Zoran and Marshall Ruddy. And I think for him, if it's Shaquille, again, this is your one last audition to get in. So it'll be interesting to kind of see what that turns into.
I'm not sure about you. I unfortunately cannot make the trip out to Toronto, being from the middle of Canada. I wasn't able to get tickets. Wasn't able to make the flights. I will be at the game in Edmonton though at Commonwealth
Mm,
because that is very close to where I'm. Well, very close, a province away. But I
yeah.
will be able to make the trip to Commonwealth, and I'm excited to be back in that stadium because it's long overdue. Central Canada has gotten a game. Will you be at the games coming up in Toronto?
You know me, I'm a last minute decider, so I might end up being there. We'll see. Kind of waiting to see what it is. It's and when you're in the content game, you're just like, do I stay home and make videos immediately, or do I go take it in and make a video when I get in at midnight? So I mean, we've been to games before. We've been to the same game, one the Panama game,
The Panama game, yeah.
friendly, yeah. But yeah, I'm debating still, and tickets right now seem to be still available. So it'll be a last minute choice because I have the flexibility to make it a last minute choice. But possibly we'll see. So maybe is the official answer. Maybe is the official answer.
Yeah, I think this selling for like $26 that promo was. Like it looks like a great deal, of course. But
Yeah. Uh, if they can get at least a lower bowl full, if not getting more, I think if they're selling them as individual tickets, it'll be better. If they're selling them as packages, then
yeah.
it's just gonna you'll have the Canadian Shield all over again, where the first window is kind of dead, and then the second window looks like it's a party. But we'll see from there. Moving from fullbacks, or anything you want to add to the fullbacks based off who's been called versus who could be coming?
I think for three of them, I think we covered it perfectly well. I think it's
Yeah,
time to move to those center backs, right? Because we
true, true.
have
Yes,
one injured, Moise Bombito. Thankfully, turns up as a training player, and I'm sure, according to Tristan Jack, who said he'll probably be ready to go back to OGC Nice and start right away, which is very positive to hear. As long as he doesn't
Mhm.
rush himself back to a full starting 11 game and playing a full 90, we don't need him to have a re-injury of any sorts. But the center backs are Joel Waterman, Ralph Prizo, Kamal Miller, Luke DeFougerolles, and Derek Cornelius. What are your thoughts from that grouping there?
I think assuming Derek Cornelius is healthy to play, I feel good for this window, right? Assuming that he's if Cornelius is healthy, him, Luke, it sounds like it's not too Luke de Fougerolles doesn't sound like it's too worrisome of an injury. So if you have those two starting, you're good. Even if it's Waterman and Cornelius starting, you lose a little bit of that backtracking, erasing mistakes speed. But I think I'm fine with those with any combination involving Derek Cornelius for me. Based off of what it is. Now he'll have some match rust, no doubt, but I think I'm fine with that group. When you look at overall the center backs, right? Ralph Prizo, Kamal Miller. Kamal Miller is another player who you could put out as a fullback here in a break glass in case of emergency. Well, the glass is cracked, boys. The glass is cracked. I think for me, because the only other center back who isn't here, I think, is Alfie Jones. And I'm assuming Alfie Jones is there. And if you want to include Jamie Knight LaBelle, whether you think he would have made this, I thought after Copa he was making it, and then Joel Waterman got his way through it. And you don't bring Alfie Jones, you don't convert him this close to the World Cup just to not bring him. That seems a little bit foolish. But then if that's the case, you're looking at Bombito, Cornelius, Luc de Fougerolles, Joel Waterman, Alfie Jones. That's five center backs. If they bring five, I'm fine with those five. But if it's six, Priso versus Kamal Miller, I think becomes very interesting to see who gets that trust. And for Ralph Priso, by the way, welcome back to the national program. This is your audition for the World Cup. No pressure. Uh, so if that means you got to be negating everyone's speed, negating uh, transition moment speed, cool. But I think if they bring six, it's between Priso and Kamal Miller, and right now I lean towards the youth. I think Priso, and it's crazy thinking 4 years ago, you could have argued Kamal Miller was probably one of their better defenders at the World Cup. And 4 years later, he's been on the outside looking in, but now the the player who shows up and has had a good end of last MLS season up to this season, and now he's pushing to make this squad, even if it's just on the back end. Hey, that a difference what 4 years make, right? How do you see the center backs break it down for you?
I think right now it's clearly a lock, probably for the first four, like you said, with
Mhm.
Bombito, Cornelius, Luke DeFugeral, and Alfie Jones. And I think it's going to be five coming to the World Cup, and I think it's going to be a battle for that fifth role. I think Kamal, unfortunately, like you said, the glass is broke. I think it's leaking. I think he's a great sixth option. Don't get me wrong. Like for
Mhm.
friendlies, for injuries, worst case scenario, he is available. But I think that fifth role is coming down to Waterman and Priso. And I think right now, if Priso continues his form, I think he can
Mhm.
earn that spot to the World Cup. Because even as we saw Camp Poutine, Priso hit the ground running, massively impressed everyone who isn't a Whitecaps fan and all didn't really know as much about him.
Mhm.
And then you see the start of the MLS season. He has been one of the better center backs probably in the league. While unfortunately for Joel Waterman, who's only started two out of the first four matches for Chicago, playing in four, he just hasn't had the same opportunities and hasn't been able to show his quality to play the same level. And I think if Priso can show his quality, continue to play high at this high level, and if this Vancouver team can keep reaching the heights that they're expected to, I think Priso should get that fifth role because what you can also get with Priso is if injuries don't go your way, if you late game you want to throw an extra player on, Priso can come in, create chances, and play in the midfield. You can push him
Mhm.
on a bit more as well. And if Bombito gets injured, I think Priso is kind of exactly like him. He has the
Yeah.
pace, the speed, the recovery power, and also can play very good balls down the channel. Like he just seems like he's right now in that position to get called up. And I think it will be like Extreme says, it's got to be Derek and LDF right now this window. I'd say Derek starts, of course, because right now it's talk that he's the more fit one of the two. Unfortunately, I
Mhm.
don't know what Luke DeFugero's state is with his injuries recovery. Like
Yeah.
I'm assuming he's going to be good to play if he's on the official roster, not as a training player. And I'm
Mhm.
guessing one game will go to LDF and one game will go to another center back. I think it's going to be very clear, right, which direction he goes with the next center back and who comes up
Mhm.
for that next game. Extreme also says Jones still healing up in that promotion race, so focus on there. I completely agree because that's going to be huge. Middlesbrough are second, I'm pretty sure, at this current moment, just
Yeah.
above Ipswich, right? I think Ipswich still have a game in hand, but that would be huge to get that second place tied down for Alfie Jones and not have to worry about a promotion playoff for him and have extra games on his mind, which would be nice in hindsight, but we don't need those extra matches for a Canadian center back who's dealt with injuries. And it'd be great to have a Canadian in the Premier League, which would be huge because we already have two others in Liam Miller as well as Ali Ahmed, who could also boost his stock and get into
Mhm.
a promotion race. Also, Prizo as well over Miller at the moment. I completely agree.
Yeah.
I think that center back hierarchy, however you want to order the four, and then it goes Waterman, Prizo, however you want to order those two, and Miller's probably your seventh. You could argue even Jaquil or Jamie Knight LaBelle could even battle it out for that sixth role if you want to go that far, but
Yeah.
not sure if I'd say that yet. And with our current center back situation for top four center backs are locked, Miller won't be at 2030. God, I hope not. But Prizo will all goes well bring Prizo for development to up his value. I completely agree with that because Prizo, I'd say what 90% lock for 2030.
Listen,
Am I too
I,
high
I
on that?
I'm not saying you could have your locks. Remember, 4 years ago, I was like, "Yo, Kamal Miller is the foundation piece of the center backs.
Just
We're going
fifth.
places." And Kamal Miller right now is just like, "Yo, y'all remember me? Like, I used to do this. Like, I was starting back in the day." So yeah, I think football is so fickle like that that you can be somewhere, right? At the end of the Copa America, I was like, their top four are sets. It's Cornelius, Bombito, Luke de Fougerel, and Jamie Knight LaBelle. Jamie Knight LaBelle, still young, but he's coming up now, and it just hasn't had the minutes or the profile as others, but they're coming. I think it's a very interesting space to be in where we actually are building depth throughout our entire program. So I think right now you'd say if it continues to move like it is, yes, but things can change, right? We haven't even got to Stefanovic at TFC who's going to start to play more and more there, or Ivanisevic, or some of the other young center backs coming through. Like there's so much talent there if they continue, and then you have to get them into the fold as well. Yay, fighting for dual nats. Love it. But I think right now, if it goes, yeah, he could be. But hey, keep working on your craft, keep developing guys. Like, and then the doors will open when they need to open, and then kick them through when you got to. So yeah, I think right now I'm comfortable with three. I don't know if the top four are locked, but I'm definitely comfortable with three.
Yeah, I think right now for 2030, my locks would be Bombito, LDF, Derek Cornelius.
Yeah.
Alfie Jones would be 33, I want to say then. 32. Age doesn't matter sometimes, but when you have Jamie Knight LaBelle could have a loan spell, you don't know where he might be come 2030. Don't know where Lazar Stefanovic will be. The joy of football is anything can change, and it's going to be very interesting to see who our locks are, even in 2 years come Copa America if we even get invited back. So it'll be fun to see. But let's move on to the midfield because there's so many players to break down still in this roster.
Mhm.
Let's start with the central midfielders. Matthew Chouanier, Marcelo Flores, I guess you can toss in there as a number 10. Ismail Kone, Jonathan Osorio, Nathan Saliba. What do you expect to be your midfield duo, or what do you hope to be your midfield duo?
Uh okay, for this work. Okay, thanks. That's fair.
Yeah,
That's fair. Yeah, I
that
think
makes more
that's
sense.
clear. Yeah, the top four for this
Appreciate
one
that
for
extra.
sure. Yeah, because I saw the 230, I was like, ooh, don't know. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know where they're gonna put Marcelo, and I think that to me is a curious because you bring in a player like Junior Hoylett, and I'm like, I think he's like those two are my where do they get played, and this now tells me a little bit more about how the numbers might construct. But the midfield, I think the midfield is set. Like there's nothing really. Stephanie Stacchio isn't there, but the midfield is set, right? I think the midfield is Eustachio, Kone, Saliba, Chouanier, and then if you need him in a pinch, Seager. Those are your four midfielders. I don't think there's much more to add to it. I think in this camp, because you're missing one, right? I think what you do with Jonathan Osorio, I still maintain if you have to bring one veteran between Osorio and Junior Hoylett, you bring Hoylett. I find that Hoylett could help you a little bit more there because I think his creativity out wide or as a second striker, I think is a little bit more valuable than him having to sit. And though he's defending well in the MLS this year for what he's at to play, I still like what Schwanyar has done. I think there are more things that you can duplicate in the midfield, especially with Saliba looking like that. So I think the midfield is set. I think it'll just come down to who gets the games. And my answer is they played. I think whoever starts played at CF Montreal at some point, right? That's who it is. It could be Kone Schwanyar. It could be Kone Saliba. It could be Schwanyar Saliba. I think though that's going to be your middle holding midfielders for Canada in these two games.
I'll let you answer this one because I know you've talked about Flores in the central area of the pitch before. So I'll let you handle that question from Extreme.
I'm curious. Like, I do see him out wide, but I see him. It depends on where they want to put him. I think out wide right now, there's so much variance outside of the top two outside midfielders and then the rest that I think he has more room to jump in. Like, I think he has the opportunity if he has a good window. He's now all of a sudden the first sub off the bench for that out wide position. I think because of the numbers here, do you just put Osorio or Hoylett there? And if you put Hoylett in the middle, for instance, why not try a Marcelo in the middle? So I think Hoylett and Marcelo, to me, I think they're better used. I think Marcelo Flores right now is better used out wide in the midfield. I think Hoylett is your best stimulation for what a Jonathan David can do, especially how he's playing currently. So being that second striker, being that cam, that attacking creative midfield who can set off, especially defending the league, come in, send a winger out into space, and then create a goal. I keep on going back to the goal chance that Jaden Nelson misses against Romania, where it's Hoyle gets the ball, slips the ball through, and then Nelson is on his way. And if he doesn't overhit it too heavy on the first touch, it's another goal for them. So I think that's kind of where I think they end up. I think ultimately Flores ends up out wide. And if that's the case, it's between him and Liam Miller. And if he can look more dynamic, if he can create a moment for himself there, I think he does jump Liam Miller, as crazy as it sounds, um, over that aspect. I'll take this question too. Do I have
Hey,
Hoylett over
take
Liam
it up.
Miller and Schaff? I think I have him over Miller. I don't have I don't have him over Miller, but I have him over Schaff. Right? I think definitely for me, I think for what they would ask him to do, like Schaff is like Schaff is tough because again, in space, he can be dynamic, he can be very direct. I think that works for him. And that's something that I think works for what Marsh wants. But in terms of what I'm looking for and like the creativity that I'm looking for, I think I would go Hoylett, but I don't see Hoylett. Hoylett is a weird Hoylett. I wouldn't assign him to a position. If I assign him to a striker, I'm not bringing a striker. If I assign him out wide, I think that makes more sense. But I'd have him playing as Jonathan David's first. He spells him when he needs to break. So that's where I would have Junior Hoylett playing. Though he may be more of a winger now or an outside midfielder, but in the game, Joe David comes off 75th, maybe 80th, maybe 60th minute, who knows? You bring in a Junior Hoylett there, and then he's that creative in the middle, and that's where whether it's Tanny, whether it's Kyle Laren, whether it's if somehow Promise is healthy enough, dare I say the Daniel Jebusons of the world, because again, I can go on this rant, but I won't go on this rant. I'm a Jebuson fan. But I think Hoylett's best usage is in the Jonathan David role to spell him for those 15 minutes there. So that's where I see him playing. I don't know if that answers your question. Because that Romania Wales window, I always go back to that for me. But what about you? Where do you have Flores sitting with this in this first camp? And I know someone's texting me like, "Well, wait till he shows up first." I'm like, he has nowhere else to go. He's coming. Okay, please. I can't handle this. Please.
I'll start with the Flores question. So we got a few here. I don't see Flores in the middle. Like the only way I see Flores in the middle is if we switch to a 3-5-2 and have a 10 sitting behind two strikers, or we play a 4-2-3-1. I just don't see Flores as a central midfielder playing in that duo and that double pivot. I just don't think he works as a central midfielder. Like his stylistic fit is so much better out wide, whether that's coming on for Tajon, whether that's coming on for Ali Ahmed. That's yet to be determined because he can play off both flanks very well. I'm pretty sure against Forge and Liga Meki, he's been coming off the left more so, from what I remember at least. So I'd like to see him come on for Ali Ahmed, but Ali Ahmed usually plays 90 minutes like he can do every game. But I think Marcelo is best suited out wide. That's just, for me, his best position across the pitch. And for the Hoylett over Liam Miller or Schaff, I don't know if I have Hoylett over either of them. Like, he is playing in, League 2 now.
Yeah.
If he's coming, he is one of those last two. I think he sits next to Owen Goodman as that final call-up. I don't expect him to get much minutes. Nothing against Junior Hoylett. I think he's done great for the national team. But when you look out wide to how Jesse Marsh wants to play, I think if he comes on, it's in a moment where Canada needs to slow down the game, needs to control possession, needs to settle down and calm the play down, or we need magic from a free kick. That's what Junior Hoylett's going to give you at this moment in time. I don't think he's going to give you as good of dribbling off the bench that Flores is going to give you. He's not going to give you the pace or the directness of a Schaffelberg or of a Jaden Nelson. He's not going to give you the 1-2, the interchangeability that Liam Miller is going to give you. What Junior Hoylett's going to give you is the Cavallini vibes role, is the experience, is all of the joy that brings you. And nothing against Hoylett, but I
Oh,
just
jeez.
don't think he'll be getting quality minutes with us at this point in time, unless it's a situational basis for 15, 20 minutes at the end of a match. Bang. I definitely want to see Saliba get more time, but it's important to hedge our bets in case. I think Saliba, for
Mhm.
me, my midfield duo, it's got to be Kone's going to be a lock for Canada. We don't really
Mhm.
see Kone go a full 90. Like, it's very rare, whether it's for Sassuolo or Canada. He has improved his fitness quite remarkably well with Sas, but I think he's a lock to start for us no matter what in this duo, no matter if Steph's there, no matter if it's Saliba or Chouanier. But I think Kone starts, and I think Saliba has to partner him. Like we saw against Ukraine, Saliba can do the dirty work. He can go forward. He can create goals. He can score goals. And he's done it for Anderlecht as well. Like he's been sitting in that
Yeah.
three-man midfield, right? Like he's been one of those three. And he hasn't been the advanced player. He's been one of the sixes. So I think you can trust him to be that more defensive minded next to Kone, and they both can track back and be a box to box. So I find that very interesting. So it'll be very curious to see what we do with that midfield too. But either way, we're gonna see all three of those ex CF Montreal players, whether it's Chouanier coming off the bench, whether it's Nathan Saliba, Kone starting. But I think Jonathan Osorio might keep that bench role quite warm beside Jesse Marsh, unless he gets that Hoylett minute as well. Extreme at cam or in a new formation. What do you think there?
But that's where, like, I think for Canada, I think that's where your best space for Hoylett would be as a cam. And that's why I say if Jonathan David's going to continue to play as that roaming striker, as that second striker, the best spot for him to get the ball, then create something, to spell him for those 10, 15, I think is a Hoylett, right? Because I don't think anyone else, I don't know. He doesn't have the pace. Yes, we know that.
For Flores.
Yeah, oh, for Flores. Oh, I I think we'll sooner see him in the midfield or in a cam role this camp because the numbers at in the midfield. But I think ultimately he's out wide. I think Flores is out wide just because, I mean, if they, all respect to Brim Pibble, but like if Arabim gets no minutes, then they put Flores in as a striker, as one of the two strikers. I mean, that could be interesting. I think it could fit if we're still looking for the role that can fit through, and then maybe that means you get a Liam Miller, you get a. It, I think it can work. The question is, will Marsh actually do it? And I think Marsh will just quicker put him out wide and say, be the be the substitute, be the backup for Tejan, spell him for the last 15 minutes of this game, and let's see what you can create here. I think that'll more than often happen. Or maybe in one of these games, it just gets we're up by 4 at half, and it's like, okay, and we're gonna try something new, right? Uh, oh, I wish
Do you
a
sense
bat.
try a new formation for the World Cup? I just don't see Jesse doing that. Like we've begged, we've asked for a three-man midfield. The questions have been there from every reporter, probably. Well, probably not because Canada TV reporters don't ask those kind of questions that often. But when it's been asked, Jesse's kind of said he's tried it before. He said he's switched in games to it before to a three-man midfield. But Jesse Marsh kind of stuck in his ways, right? Like he does that Red Bull system. It's the 4-2-2. It's the two attacking minded wingers or outside tens, if you want to call it. It's the
Mm-hmm.
two sitting sixes with one going up and down. He's very rarely tinkered with three-man midfield. At times he's done it, like against Uruguay. Outside of that, my mind goes blank. But I just don't know what he would change to or why he would change to at this moment in time. Bang,
Yeah,
this is the last window where he can experiment without too much risk. But in terms of formation, he's pretty stubborn. Completely agree. Like
agreed.
Jesse Morris is stuck in his ways. He has that ideology of a Red Bull system, tactical outlet, and that's how he plays his football. High flying, those number 10s fly up the pitch, and then you have those two number 9s, and they play off each other very well. And Jesse Marsh
Mm-hmm.
has just never changed. We've changed the formation once in what has it been now, 2 years under Jesse
Yeah,
Marsh? Like I
Yeah,
just don't see
and yeah, and it turns into a situation where then you start like convincing yourself of things. Like there's a group chat that I'm in where I'm like, no, 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 you want Seager to start because he'll drift into the midfield, and then it'll give us kind of like a three-man midfield, and this is the only way we can do this. And I look and I sound crazy, but like we've reached that level where I think he, like you said, bomb bang, like he is stubborn in that sense, and so I don't think you're gonna see it unless he tactically switches to it, or you see a Joe David drift enough where it's like, well, it's really more of a 4-2-3-1 with him in the middle. But then that becomes problematic, say, if Laren is there, because both of them like to drift too much into that space. And then it's just a 4-6 striker sometimes. But we'll see. We'll see kind of how it looks because I think as we get to, I mean, we go outside. I think it's rather simple for outside, right? It's Ali Ahmed on the left, Tejan on the right, and then whoever your next best coming up after that are fine. And I think that's what it'll be at the World Cup, knocking for injuries as well, right? Oh, yes, yes, because let's talk about promise extreme. Let's
yeah.
talk about the
Let's
promise
move to
that
the
was
number nines.
uh,
Well,
promise hurting. Like go. I'm still not over. I'm
yeah, since you brought up promise, let's just reiterate who got called up top. Joe David, Daniel Jebison, Kyle Laren, Tani Oluwase, Bim Peppel, and Jason Russell Rowe. And of course, promise David hurts. It massively hurts. And he did a great interview on Belgian TV talking about his injury, talking about the rehabilitation, everything like that. But the one thing that I thought was a damning statement during the interview was there's always 2030. There's another World Cup. And that kind of scared me when Promise said that, right? Because
Mhm.
his mind's kind of knowing his injury timeline is great for this World Cup. And that's a big threat to Jesse Marsh, the squad, because he's not going to be fully fit coming into this World Cup no matter what. Who knows
Yeah.
how long he can go? Who knows his shape he's in? Because running into the World Cup, it was everyone saying it's going to be David and it's going to be David. That's got to be our front two. There was no if, buts, maybes about it. And now you have Tani Oluwase not playing for Villarreal. You have Kyle Laren on good form. And then you also have the likes of Jason Russell Rowe starting to pick up minutes for Toulouse. How's it going? Get in. Appreciate the comment. And then you have Bim Peppel flying for Plymouth Argyle. It's a very controversial time for Jesse Marsh to decide who partners Jonathan David. I'm even struggling to say who partners him right now because it's a very difficult situation because Kyle Laren, yes, he's on form, but his chemistry and link up with Jonathan David hasn't been there in maybe 2 years?
That's the struggle. And I think that's where, because it's the one that they've worked on the most, I still lean towards Tanny right now, even though I don't think this is the right. I think who they start up with, Joe David, is going to be very much based off of who they're playing, right? And this is where we go. If you go back to the Australia friendly, that should have been Promise should have got that start, right? Promise should have got the Australia game. When he came in, he was causing havoc, and we were just like, yes, this is why he should have started. But like games where they're going to be hitting that low block, those are games where it's like, no, that should be Promise. And if it's not Promise, a name that's not here, like that's like a Theo Bear type of a game where it's like, listen, we're gonna get the ball out wide, we're gonna spam crosses, we're gonna find one of our 6'4" meet 6'3". Okay, cool. Tower, okay? Dunk on people, okay? Posterize them. Let's just spam it again. And then if we need some interplay, 1-2s, get inside, Joe David, poachers goals. That is what it's set up for. I think when you get to the World Cup, when you're going to be playing teams where you're going to be pressing and maybe more defensive, I think Tanny A works better for that, but then also B, Tanny occupies his striker space more consistently than a Kyle Laren. What we're going to get this winter, we're going to get Kyle Laren and Joe David because you can't take away his goal form. That's just the reality, and that'll be his last chance to say why he should start. But I think of the strikers that are there, we've seen Tanny with Joe David the most, and I think that's what we're going to get. Because I don't know if they would. I mean, it kind of is true though. Like at the end of the day, they would quicker start Daniel Jebison, and I love Daniel Jebison because of the work rate over promise David. And it would not shock me if Jebs gets to start this window because the pressing acumen that he'll give or the speed and the pace that he can give you there. And so I think Tanny's going to get the first start and probably Kyle Aaron. I would love Tanny get one, and then I think Jason Russell Rowe spells Tanny, and then who do you have spelling? It'll probably be Kyle Aaron. For me, it should be Junior Hoylett in that spot. And then maybe you get Brim Pebble for a cameo, the Kwesi Poku wave to the camera. Hey guys, CPL success story type of a thing, which that boy got back and I miss him. But I think that's what you end up getting for your strikers. What about you? What do you see this breaking down as?
I think it's a battle for 3 different players and who plays next to Joe David. I think it's Kyle Larin. I think it's Tani Oluwase and Daniel Jemison. Because for me, Jason Russell Rowe is your typical Jonathan David comparable lookalike player. The way he plays his football, the way he likes to control play, get on the ball, create space for others, and his link of play. He's very similar to Jonathan David. We talked about this after Camp Poutine, that
Yeah.
he's almost your 1B Jonathan David. Like he is no, I wasn't going to say Timu version of Jonathan David, but that is not even close to the right word to use because he is much better than that. But I like what Jason Russell Rowe can bring you. I just don't think he'll pair Jonathan David because I think they're too similar. Like you need a difference next to him. And I think for me, I expect it to be a Kyle Larin start just because of form, because we've already noticed that Jesse Marsh rewards form and also experience, and Kyle's got it, and Tawny doesn't have really either. Like his goal record for Canada is quite poor. He's missed some major chances, and I just don't see I'd like to see him next to Jonathan David. Don't get me wrong, but Kyle Larin's probably, you could say, earned that role over Tani Oluwase since January, and kudos to him. He's massively earned it. But I think the second game will go to Daniel Jemison. I agree with what you say with the work rate and how hard he works off the ball, his pressure up front. Yes, he's still a raw striker. He's still clunky at moments and times in the game. But I think he could partner Jonathan David very well. Jonathan David would have to do less of the legwork. He'd have to do less of the pressing from the front. You'd have Daniel Jemison's quick pace. And I think it'd be a very good partner for Jonathan David because you could go Tawny, you could go Daniel, either one of them, give them 50, 60 minutes, bring one out for the other, and you have a high-flying pressing striker once again. And who knows, maybe Tawny's work rate in that last window where Ali got that red card, where Tawny had to move to left midfield, where he worked his backside off all game, sprinting, running, pressing the back line. Who knows, that might have earned him a starting role this camp when everyone else has been so poor. Bang. What are you guys' thoughts on Pepple? If you haven't talked about him already, personally, as a Cavalry fan, I'm very optimistic he can make a good impression. I mean, I agree with you. I think Pepple, for me, I know people are probably talking about that he's in League One, right? The third tier of English football. But for me, a goal scorer is a goal scorer. I think it's most important as long as you're confident, as long as you're firing. Yes, as long as you're not like National League or something, I think it's still a good competitive league in League One. We've seen players go to national camps and impress. But for a goal scorer, it's about who's on form. It's who's confident in their abilities, who's firing on all cylinders. And Pepple has proved that, especially since the turn of the year, right? I think he has like 12 goals since January or something crazy. He's in double digits. He has 14 across the whole season. He's earned this call up. He has massively deserved this. I don't know if he'll get minutes. Like, I'm a Cavalry fan as well, Bang. Like, I think he's worked his backside off to get where he is in this situation, played incredibly well at the CPL level, challenged himself in the lower divisions of English football, was written off to start the year at Plymouth Argyle, even by their supporters. And then he goes on this crazy tear. Supporters love him. They're in a playoff push. And he's earned himself a dream Canadian call-up. I don't know if he'll get much minutes. Like right now, I agree, maybe 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes. I'm just not sure how he fits. It'll really be how he impresses in training, because we know how much Jesse Marsh
Yeah.
cares about training, how you show yourself, how hard you work, how you can adapt to the play style. Like, you can be scoring so many goals, but if you don't fit exactly what he wants from you as a number 9, like we've seen a Promise David, if he has things that he has to tinker on in his game that aren't exactly suiting what he wants from a striker, I don't know if he'll earn minutes. Because we saw that from Promise for what, his first couple of camps, at least, where he didn't get minutes, and everyone was
Mhm.
crying out for him to get more minutes, more of an opportunity. So I don't know. My position is maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes max. What are your thoughts?
Well, let's give, because Promise isn't here. Let's use Promise as our standard here. What do we do if he gets the Promise? He gets the Venezuela Promise David, right? Where he shows he's on the pitch for the last 15 minutes, but then he gets there, gets a break, he scores a goal. Now what? What do you do with that? Right? What do you do with that type of situation? I think he's going to get probably 10 minutes in one of the games, 10 minutes or 15 minutes in one of the two games. And then within that, like you said, training is going to matter for him. But if he shows like the familiarity, I would be shocked, injuries notwithstanding, if he makes the final 26. But I wouldn't be surprised, right? It'd be coming out of nowhere, but like you said, if the season continues like it is, right? If Joe David continues to have like a spark of sunshine and it's like, look, guys, he's back, and then it's back to just the dreary days at Juve, right? If Kyle Lerman slows down, if Daniel Jebison goes, 1 week or 2 weeks he's scoring, and then 3 weeks he's off. If Tanny keeps on being a spot starter, like, I need someone who is a striker who's scoring goals at some point. Doesn't mean that they're going to start, but I need them in the. Maybe I take it, bring him in, take his shoes, and be like, "Yo, rub these shoes together. Let's get this good juju going, and let's score a goal." Like, you need that. You need someone who is scoring. So I think training will matter for him. I think it's great. There's a conspiracy theorist part of me that's like, oh no, they'll make sure he makes a team. We got to promote the CPL some way somehow. And look, another CPL graduate. Like, what? As a striker, look at him make the squad. I'm not saying that's why he's gonna make it. I think he'll make it by his merit. But I think if the strikers continue to struggle within their clubs that the score consistently, and yes, he's in League One, but if the man's putting the ball in the net, look, there's a goalkeeper. That goalkeeper is paid, and that man is beating him. I don't see a problem with bringing it. Would I be shocked? A little. Would I end up being surprised? No. So I think at the end of the day, look, you've been given an opportunity. It's the same thing we said about Ralph Priso, right? Yeah, welcome to the fire. This is your opportunity. This is your audition. By the way, this is your only audition. So for 26, go and make a good impression, and then go back to club. Know that you were know that you were seen, and then go kill it. Right? Because from now till then, it's the strikers, man. Scoring goals is going to get you across the line, right? You can be great defensively, you can be great pressing, you can press the ball into the net, but guess what? The ball needs to go into the net. And so for me, I think that'll be key. So if Pebble is able to maintain that, I think that's great for him. And I think you have to keep into consideration. And especially if injuries continue from where it is, you don't want any more injuries at the striker position. But I'm curious. Like, I'd be a little shocked, but wouldn't be surprised. No, man. Appreciate you stopping by. We do appreciate the prodding to get this man to go alive. Listen, if you saw behind the scenes, man, I'm like, yeah, this guy's got to go live. Like, the people want what the people want.
I appreciate Extreme, man. Like, all the comments, all the questions, it really helps out the live, helps out the communication. Like, it's great to have you guys here. Makes them enjoyable, right? Like, having everyone take part, whether it's Prince dissing Hoylett, whether it's Extreme asking some unreal questions, Ben getting involved. Like, it's a lot of fun doing these lives, guys. We're 100% gonna have to do these more often and get on and find the time to keep doing these lives with Afrikaans here. And I'll definitely have the link in the channel, of course, in the description for Afrikaans channel, because
But, yeah,
what are you gonna say
I
there?
think No, I was gonna say something like
Go for it.
looking at the roster, like I showed you my spreadsheet, kind of where it is, right? I think right now you have probably 22 of the 26 are locks for Canada, which means based off of the 28 that are called plus the injuries, and I think that the notable injuries to go or the notable omissions for me, you got Schaffelberg, Jaden Nelson, Jamie Knight LaBelle, Theo Bear. I have James Pantemis and Jaden Hibbert, but like I don't think they're out. Injuries aside, I don't think they're coming. Promise David if his rehab goes well, or Zoran Basong. Like between that, then the Marcelo Flores's, Junior Hoylett, Daniel Jebison's, Jaquil Marshall Ruddy, Kamal Miller, Osorio, Brim, Ralph Prizo, Jason Russell Rowe. Like that feels like that whole group of people are fighting for 4 spots, maybe on that squad. Like to me, for and I'll let you guys know these are my how I see it. These are my locks for the roster, not starting, but for the roster. I think Ali Ahmed makes it. Moise Bombito, Tejon, Mathieu Choignard, Derek Cornelius, Max Crepeau, Jonathan David, Luc Dufourgerel, Owen Goodman, Alistair Johnston, Ishmael Kone, Kyle Laren, Richie Larea, Liam Miller, Tani Oloshe, Nathan Saliba, Nico Segur, Dane St. Clair, Joel Waterman, Alfonso Davies, Stephen Estacchio, and Alfie Jones. Those 22, those are my locks, which means if it's a 26 roster, I think everyone else are fighting for those 4 spots, right? What Prince, thank you for your optimism. I appreciate it. You gotta you keep me grounded. I appreciate that.
Where is tough, man?
Remember Guatemala. We do.
We all
Shaq
do.
does too. We all do. Lots of injuries is just yeah. Though that's the team that folds under pressure is something I've seen a lot now. Well, I've seen more on the interwebs, right? We're a team, we're a Bollywood team, but we fold under pressure. And unfortunately, the receipts say they ain't lying, right? Right? We are folding under pressure moments. I don't think you count the 2022 Olympic. I mean, not the 2022 World Cup because no one. It's kind of sucked because from there to 2024 was just like, okay, you have 2023's Nations League. You beat Panama in the semis, cool. And like I hate that I say it this way. We lost to the assistant manager coaching the team, BJ Callahan. Like I was like, bring him to Canada then. You know, if he's gonna do this to us, bring him to Canada if Erdman leaves. But that's a game, right? We don't count that next Gold Cup because it was a rotated squad. Then we get to the next Nations League, and it's like, okay, well, they're gonna do something. They're gonna do something. No, yeah, the next Nations League. Then we lose to Jamaica in the quarterfinals, and then we have to qualify for Copa America. There's not really any pressure on us. We go on a nice run, lose Argentina twice. We bottle the game against Uruguay, and that's there. Then the next Nations League, right? We make the finals, we make the semis. Mexico, one bad bounce, and it's not as simple as one bad bounce, but Mexico tactically out tacticked us and we were off the pitch of them. But hey, we beat the US in third place game. Huzzah. Then we bring our full team all the way to the Gold Cup, and then Guatemala game happens. There's a lot of opportunities to bring home something. And all we have to show for is a second and a third place in the Nations League. We aren't escaping the allegations of we are a team that's saying that in some moments the light might be a little bit too bright for us. And that won't change until the lights aren't bright for us. Right. And I think we're not a secret anymore. This isn't 2022 where Belgium is caught off guard by how much we want to play. Because Croatia made quick work of that. But we still had that minute and a half. We had that minute and a half against Croatia, Lane, and it was beautiful. I was confused and I was full of joy. But at some point, like I think this team is a team that will match the opportunity, but now it's up for them to get over the hurdle of not being clean. I think in this situation, them not being the overwhelming favorite, I think will help them because I think teams will take them more seriously, but we're not quite the threat. If this is Canada coming off of a Gold Cup win or a Nations League win, there's a little bit more of a, oh, no, okay, we see you. No, we're gonna get up for you, and they still might be that. But I think right now this team works better as an underdog because I think the pressure sometimes does get to them. Right? Why does Jacob Schaffelberg feel like he has to finish his check, like against Guatemala? Like we you know when we needed that? We needed that at the Olympics. We didn't need that here. Okay, get that man some skates and run through. Uh, but that's a fair point. In context for our the Overwild, I think that's a fair counterpart. That's a fair
There's the
perspective.
positivity we need in the chat,
Yes.
Prince, right there. That's
Mhm.
some positivity, Prince. But yeah, um, I agree with you. Like we we show that sometimes the lights are too bright, and we won't know if we can handle it till the World Cup comes up. Like that's always been the major question since 2022. Yes, it was go out, win a title, some kind of trophy, but Marsh, yes, his goal was to win a trophy, but his goal at the same time was to also build depth, build this roster, build a strong enough team that he's confident with come the World Cup. The World Cup was always the biggest goal for our team, for our roster, for Canada soccer. And I think he's truly shown that. Like he tinkered against Mexico, he tinkered against Guatemala, he tinkered the whole group stage of the Gold Cup, and he's apologized for that. And he said it was for the betterment of the roster, and he said that he shouldn't have tinkered so much. And now he's going with his better roster, and as we've seen, he's done that in the last couple friendly windows. He's gone with his best possible lineup, and like Bang says, we have come a long way, and I completely agree. Yes, were we ever expected to really win the Nations League? Yes, we were the best team at that time, but we don't have the history of winning anything. We don't have players who have gone out and won a national trophy. That's going to come, and hopefully, the World Cup can be our first kind of coming out party and saying, yes, the lights weren't too bright for us. We got out of the group stage. We were able to upset some people. Who knows? Maybe we even beaten Italy. I think that could be a huge moment for our country. We've come so far. And yes, this is a weaker Canadian squad, but this is our A team right now. This is our best team. We're only lacking what, two players in Fonzie and the likes of Estacchio. Outside of that, you got Bombito and AJ injured. That's it.
Mhm.
We have our two other center backs probably going to play to more so the full game or some extent. So I think it's a huge statement to where this team has really come from, and I think this is our
Mhm.
best possible team outside of our two stars. And the fact that we aren't looking at this roster and sad that they're not there, or sad that we have two other injuries outside of Bombito and AJ. I think it shows a lot from where this team has come from under Herdman. Because under Herdman, we had what, three subs at the World Cup. We're like, yeah, let's bring on these three players, and we somewhat feel happy about this team. And another comment here from Sun: didn't Canada win the Gold Cup in 2000? Yes, but that's a different level of history. None of those players are still with this team.
Mhm.
None of these current players know what winning means at a national team level. Yes, they've won stuff at the club level, but that's a completely different situation. Like that's realistically our only history on the men's side
Mhm.
of silverware, of glory. I'm not sure what you feel about that.
Yeah, like I think that those comments are really more so like not the 2020, but like the lights too bright for that. I think it's more so within this generation based off of the excitement that's come from that. But and I think that's fair. Like I've accepted because until you don't get to brush off the moniker of a, and not to say that they're chokers, but like you don't get to brush it off until you win. And that's the reality of all sport, right? You are something until you prove that you're not that thing. Right, and that comes with the territory. And so it's like, yeah, if you're gonna talk with the Bollywood of it, yeah, at some point we have to back it up, and I'm excited for another opportunity to do it. Right? And that's really where it comes to it. And like you said, we've reached a point. Like as you were saying this, I looked at the Copa America roster, and there's 8 players that from that roster who haven't been brought back really. Right, everyone else have been with this coach since the Copa America, so it's exciting to see what the possibilities could be. And also, Copa Junior was going to be there, but then he got hurt. So then they had to bring this little lone Minnesota forward called Daniel Lachey. And then what did he become? He became basically our starting striker, right? And I think it's you take that as it It's another opportunity. I'm excited to do it. But ooh, thoughts on the World Cup kits?
Let's
The
wrap
ones
up
with the
with this
black.
comment. We'll save the rest for
Yes.
another live.
Oh, we will. We will definitely do that
Oh yeah,
because I
we'll
got
be
to
back.
do. I got to do women's under 17 because like the refs decided match day 2 fouls for who? I was like, man, the hips are being thrown here, like hip checks. But like it was something. But no, the black kits. Apparently, mine was supposed to get to my house today, and it did. But apparently, I wasn't at home, even though I was at home all day. So who knew? But no, I like the black kits. The a little bit underwhelmed by the main jersey. Yeah, the main didn't do anything really. The Leaf concept was fine. I will still maintain I think the best kit that Canada's had in the last little bit was the women's World Cup kit, the black and red maple leaf pattern. That to me I think is their best non-black, non like their best red quote unquote kit. I think that is I think that is the best kit they've had. But I like the blacks. The blacks have grown on me. The black kits, that is. Gonna have fun talking myself into that circle. I love all the black kits. They're good. What about you? Like, how do you feel about the kits overall?
At first, when I saw the leak of the black one, like I wasn't a fan. Then I saw Tajon wearing it. Then I saw Alfonso wearing it. Like kits are all about how they're modeled on a player, and I absolutely love them now. Like the black ones,
Mhm.
I'm a big fan of, and I know some people say Canadian jersey shouldn't be in a black kit. Like, but I'm not really to that point. Like I think you got to get unique. You got to get creative once in a while, and I think the black kit looks really good. Like, I think it could be changed in certain elements, but I really like what they've done with the jersey. The red one, I do agree, it's kind of underwhelming. I'm hoping when we see it against Tunisia or against Iceland, I'm sure they're going to wear one and the other in both
Mhm.
games. I'm hoping that maybe it looks better on the pitch. You never know with some kits, but I think they could have
Yeah.
done a different design because it's kind of what we had before with just half and half maple leaf down the middle. Like it's not
It's
that creative, right?
it's better than the Tim Hortons to go cup. Okay. It's better than like my travel Tim Hortons cup.
It's a low
Right.
bar, isn't it?
Our bars have been so low. We had a t-shirt, okay? Our kits were a t-shirt, black, white, and red. So to me, I'm like, look, y'all tried something? Points for trying. And look, like it's grown on me. The black has definitely grown on me. And like for people who are like, no, black, we had the blue, and I still maintain we should bring that one back too. The blue with the red maple leaf. I think it was like the anniversary kit that they played the States against that one time. That bring that back. Like bring that back for special occasions. Or you know what? The women need a third kit because they're probably going to do a new women's kit for them next year. So give them that blue one, give them the black and red one, and then like the white one can just I don't know have fun with it. Have it be all the intertwined lakes of Canada. I don't care. Do something fun.
Yeah, I couldn't find the authentic one either, Bang. Like I'm pretty sure the authentic black wasn't on Canada Soccer's website, which I looked for the exact same thing. I think there was only a
Mhm.
red authentic one. Outside of that, there's no black, which is very unfortunate.
Mhm.
I'm not
The,
sure if you were able
the
to find one.
the one good thing about their old kits, they're warm up jackets. I don't know how I find myself a pair of those, but those warm up like the Canada jackets, I felt like the Letterman jackets. Yo, those were nice. I give them that. Those were nice. And I was like, look, if I have to go on to, I will run onto the pitch and steal one of those from one of those players and be banned from CanMNT games for life. But I'll take that. I'll take that jacket. Okay, I will take that jacket. I won't do that because pride and reasons. But no, I think the uniforms are great, and even seeing like some of the other leagues. I think I saw Curacaw's away kit looks like nice and light. I'm like, I'm going to be losing a lot of money buying kits over the next month, so my financial planning is going to be great. But no,
Yeah,
like yeah.
probably here as well, but I'm gonna try to keep it just to Canada's because I'm sure if you splurge $180 on each kit and get a customized name and number, it's gonna add up pretty quickly at the World Cup kits. And I'll keep to Canada and maybe someone else, but we'll keep it there. My wallet's gonna be suffering enough through calling in sick at work once in a while. We'll
Oh,
hopefully. Hopefully, no one watches this besides that.
Oh, I've been soft launching my allergies for the past 2 years. So come the summer months. Oh
That hay
man, it's
fever is
good.
warming up. I tell you.
Man, the Claritin is just not kicking it, man. I think I gotta stay home in my car on the way to BMO to catch this game. But yeah, it's the things we're gonna do this summer.
It's gonna be
We're gonna
wild.
do them. Yeah, it's
A
gonna be
lot of
wild for
a lot of
sure.
calling sick across Canada.
Oh, everyone will. Or
All
I'll
the
just, work and just be like, hey, yeah, I'm gonna live stream this, but yo, I'm gonna go mute on a second. Hello, customer service voice. How are you doing today? Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, that's great. Well, have a great day. Okay, what did I miss? That'll be me this summer. So no shame whatsoever. But
it's
before
a
we
bit.
go, what do you got coming out for you? Because I know you're gonna have a smaller roster reaction for you on the channel. What else do you got coming out? So people, if you haven't subscribed already, subscribe to the man. The man wants to hit
Appreciate
a
you saying
thousand.
that. We should probably link that more at the start of the live for both of us, but we we just jumped straight into it because we had an hour and 20 minutes worth apparently to talk about. But who knew we wanted 30 minutes? But we decided to just run through it as usual. But yeah, I'm gonna try and have a shorter match reaction just as a video. Hopefully,
Mhm.
10, 15 minutes, a little bit quicker video if people weren't able to tune into the full live or catch this entire thing because I know an hour and 20, an hour and 30 minutes for some people is a lot of time to take up in a busy schedule these days and our amazing economy. But I will try to have a shorter video out, and I am going to be having a few videos out coming up this coming week as well, and hopefully content leading up to, of course, our games with previews, reaction, all that fun stuff. What about yourself?
Well, the beginning of my week was the calf nonsense. So if you guys aren't familiar with me, I do Canadian African content, and as with the name, I am gonna try to rebrand in the next couple months. So the name might change, just don't know. But I'm gonna have a recap video for what we've learned so far from the Concacaf U17s. I'm gonna try to do that today and have that up tonight because Canada's one win away from making another Women's U17 World Cup, which is great on that end. If you want to see some of the other content, go to the channel again. There's playlists full of everything. African content, Can MNT, Can WNT, all of it. Try to cover it all. But yeah, this week before the end of the week, we'll definitely have something on the U17s and then probably a shorter roster reaction as well. But this will be linked on both our pages. So
Of
if you
course.
go down our pages, you'll see it and enjoy from there. But yeah, that's what I got coming up. But again, guys, thank you for stopping by here. You have to keep on. Yes, I know we're gonna bully him. You have to keep on bullying him to go lives because he needs to. Okay.
I will. I will.
Okay.
Everyone, keep reminding me. Everyone, we got to
Yeah.
find time because this is always great. Like, Bang, Prince, Extreme, Get in Football. Like, everyone's here, right? With
Mhm.
unreal questions. Like, we went from wanting to break this down for 30 minutes to having 30, 40 questions that kept us going, kept us talking like crazy. I appreciate it. Bang, awesome stream. Can't wait for the next one. Like, keep reminding me, keep getting to the comments to the videos. The more you guys bug me, the more I'll hop on because this is so much fun. It's just finding the time, and I will make sure to make the time for you guys because every time I've now done this, it's a blast going to your channel for lives. When I did it for the World Cup with that was much longer, which wasn't intended because of how long the World Cup draw was. That was still a blast, and we made it an amazing time, even though it was
Oh
2.5
yeah.
hours. You were there bang yourself, and I appreciated it because that was fun. But we're gonna try and do this a lot more, guys. I'm gonna have content out on the channel. Africans will have content on his channel. Link will be in the description. This will also be linked on his channel. But we'll wrap it up there, guys. Hour
Yeah.
and 23. Hope you guys enjoyed the stream. Appreciate everyone who got in the comments, everyone who tuned in. But I'll see you guys for the next one. Have a good one,
In,
guys.
Indeed, guys. Have a good one. The Ugandan ref has blown the whistle early. The match is over. Extra time is not needed. Let's move on.
See ya.